The Letters to a Young Poet by Austrian poet Rainer Maria Rilke are probably among the most widely read of his writings. Only certain poems such as Day in Autumn, Herbsttag or The Panther, which are already part of the cultural heritage, are more likely to be associated with Rilke's name. But especially for us younger readers, the letters are always of great value. Not only is Rilke's worldview revealed, but it also helps the reader to find a way out of their frownness, Geworfenheit, into a blueprint, Entwurf, for an actual, authentic life. Rilke's 10 letters to Franz Xaver Kappus were written between 1903 and 1908. For the time classification, the Book of Pictures was published in 1902, after which Rilke devoted himself in the following years to his think poems, Dinggedichte, with the new poems, which were published in 1908. During the time span of the creation of the new poems, the correspondence with Kappus took place. In the next few years, his only novel, The Notebook of Malte Lauritz-Brigge, was the focus. In the transition to his late work, the Dino Elegies, Duinese Elegien, followed, and they were 10 years in the making. But if you are new to Rilke's world, the best way to get into his wonderful world is with the Letters to a Young Poet. During the 10 letters, being an artist, love, patience, loneliness, and closeness to things are brought closer to the reader. The act of creating something as the essence of life is in the foreground of many letters. Rilke was also in harmony with the philosophy of life, Lebensphilosophie, which was very popular in artistic circles at the time. But the insights that one can gain from the Letters to a Young Poet are more easily accessible than from the philosophy of life or of existentialism, since those often also bring their own jargon or their own terminology with them, as for example with Martin Heidegger or Jean-Paul Sartre. With Rilke, on the other hand, the insights are conveyed in a solemn poetic language. Perhaps you do carry within yourself the possibility of forming and creating as a particularly happy and pure way of living. School yourself for it, but take what comes in complete trust. And as long as it is a product of your will or some kind of inner necessity, accept it and do not despise it. The desire to be a creator, to engender, to give form is nothing without its continuing, palpable confirmation and realization in the world. Nothing without the myriad expressions of essence coming from animals and things. And the pleasure it gives is only unutterably fine and abundant as it is, because it is full of inherited memories of the engendering and bearing of millions. In one creative thought, 1,000 forgotten nights of love revive and landed grandeur and height. This idea of being a creator, to create, to form something, runs through all the letters and shows the reader the contingency, the ability to be, sein können, of his existence. One can also draw parallels to Thus Spoke Zarathustra by affirming life even while looking into the abyss, and with the thought that everything will reoccur, but nonetheless creating something out of this nothingness. Rilke always responds to the emptiness that befalls Kappus with art. Rilke, who was also influenced by Nietzsche early on, especially with the Book of Hours, his former lover, Lou Andreas Salome, was one of the first people who personally heard the idea of eternal return from Nietzsche also interprets the art as a substitute religion to fill the void after the death of God. And if it frightens and pains you to think of your childhood and of the simplicity and stillness that go together with it, because you can no longer believe in God, who is everywhere present in it, then ask yourself, dear Mr. Kapus, whether you really have God after all. Is it not rather the case that you have never yet possessed him? But the road to becoming a poet, an artist, or a creator is an extremely long one, with dozens of distractions waiting for the lonely wanderer along the way. The conventions which can not only damage the maturing process or the art, but also love. In his letters, Rilke warns Kapus about all the easy things about love, the focus on the sexual and the contrast between the sexes instead of being united as humans. To love is also good, for love is hard. Love between one person and another, that is perhaps the hardest thing it is laid on us to do. The utmost, the ultimate trial and test, the work for which all other work is just preparation. For this reason, young people who are beginners in everything do not yet know how to love. They must learn. With their whole being, with all their strength, concerted on their solitary, fearful, upward beating hearts, they have to learn to love. An apprenticeship, though, is always a long, secluded period, and love, too, is for a great long time and far into life, solitariness, heightened and deepened loneliness for the one in love. Love at first has nothing to do with unfolding, abandon, and uniting with another person. For what would be the sense in a union of what is unrefined and unfinished, still second order? For the individual, it is a grand opportunity to mature, to become something in himself, to become a world in himself for another's sake. It is a great, immoderate demand made upon the self, something that singles him out and summons him to vast designs. Love as a sublime reason to mature, but always remaining patient and mature in a calm manner of introspection. Of course, that positive view of loneliness already existed before Rilke, for example in Jean-Jacques Rousseau's Reveries of a Solitary Walker, or in Arthur Schopenhauer's Aphorisms on the Wisdom of Life, whereby the latter takes fire as an allegory for society, which one can use to warm up at certain times, but should never burn his fingers. But Rilke's words about loneliness are always associated with patience, enjoying the cold winter days until spring awakens, completely naturally and without pressure. To love the questions themselves, to live with them, so that one day, without realizing it, you live into the answer. Allow your verdicts their own quiet, untroubled development, which, like all progress, must come from deep within and cannot be forced or accelerated. Everything must be carried to term before it is born. These things cannot be measured by time. A year has no meaning, and 10 years are nothing. To be an artist means not to calculate and count, to grow and ripen like a tree which does not hurry the flow of its sap and stands at ease in the spring gales without fearing that no summer may follow. It will come, but it only comes to those who are patient, who are simply there in their vast, quiet tranquility, as if eternity lays before them. It is a lesson I learn every day amid hardships, I am thankful for patience is all. You are so young, all still lies ahead of you, and I should like to ask you, as the best I can, dear sir, to be patient towards all that is unresolved in your heart and try to love the questions themselves like locked rooms, like books written in a foreign tongue. Do not now strive to uncover answers. They cannot be given you because you have not been able to live them. And what matters is to live everything. Leave the questions for now. Perhaps then you will gradually, without noticing it, live your way into the answer one distant day in the future. But even if Rilke sees this loneliness as an essence of a creative existence, it is not an easy burden to bear. Franz Kappus is also aware of this. But Rilke shows him or us readers how easy it is to fall into an everyday banal convention. One also thinks of the decay into the Heideggerian day, das Mann, der Verfall an das Mann, and leads us again to the principle of patience in mind. The patience that everything can come naturally by itself if you wait for the time to mature. There is only one solitude, and it is vast and not easy to bear. And almost everyone has moments when they would happily exchange it for some form of company, be it ever so banal or trivial, for the illusion of some slight correspondence with whoever one happens to come across, however unworthy. But perhaps those are precisely the hours when solitude grows, for it's painful like the growth of boys and sad like the beginning of spring. But that must not put you off. What is needed is this, and this alone: solitude, great inner loneliness. Going into oneself and not meeting anyone for hours. That is what one must arrive at. Loneliness of the kind one knows as a child, when the grown-ups went back and forth, bound up in things which seemed grave and weighty because they looked so busy and because one had no idea what they were up to. For the people who are close to you, you tell me, are far away. And that shows that you are beginning to create a wider space around you. And if what is close is far, then the space around you is wide indeed and already among the stars. Take pleasure in your growth, in which no one can accompany you, and be kind-hearted towards those you leave behind. And be assured and gentle with them. And do not plague them with your doubts or frighten them with your confidence or your joyfulness, which they cannot understand. At the time of the correspondence with Kappus, Rilke was also absorbed in his Thing poems, which reached its climax in the New Poems. Edmund Husserl's maxim, back to the things themselves, and his intentionality of consciousness resonated with many thinkers at that time. The phenomenology that arose from Husserl was not only expanded by philosophers such as Martin Heidegger, Jean-Paul Sartre, or Maurice Merleau-Ponty, but also found its use in poetry and literature, even if this often happened unconsciously. Just think in addition to Rilke, also to Marcel Proust, for whom the intentions toward things, being the Madeleine or the unevenness of the cobblestones, evokes a whole world in his consciousness. A good example of this is in Rilke's poem Parting, which incorporates the intentionality of consciousness into the poetry, progressing from the waving of the farewell scene to the cuckoo flying off the plum tree. Abschied. Wie habe ich das gefühlt, was Abschied heißt? Wie weiß ich's noch? Ein dunkles, unverwundenes, grausames Etwas, das ein schön verbundenes doch einmal zeigt und hinhält und zerreißt. Wie war ich ohne wer, dem zuzuschauen, das, da es mich rufend gehen ließ, zurückblieb, so als wären's alle Frauen und dennoch klein und weiß und nichts als dieses. Ein Winken, schon nicht mehr auf mich bezogen, ein leise weiterwinkendes, schon kaum erklärbar mehr, vielleicht ein Pflaumenbaum, von dem ein Kuckuck hastig abgeflogen. Rilke wrote to Capus, "Be close to the things," showing him that the things are not just things, but that there is a whole world hanging from their roots, which is only apparently hidden. In February 1919, during a lecture at the University of Freiburg, Heidegger said that the lectern is whirling. Das Katheder weltet, a term of his early terminology before being in time used to describe a verb for the noun world. Welt, es weltet. And Proust's Madeleine, soaked in tea, is also whirling, because we are still in the world with all the things that are far more than just things, and they are whirling for us. This can happen upon scrutiny, or it can overwhelm us at the most random moments. That event not only throws us out of a trance of everydayness, turned into indifference and unaware of our being, but shows us that we are a part of being in the world. Try to be near to things, they will not abandon you. The nights are still here, and the winds that go through the trees and over the many lands. Among things and among animals, all is still full of happenings in which you can take part. And the children are still as you were when you were a child, just as sad and happy. And whenever you think of your childhood, you live among them again, among the lonely children, and adults are nothing, and their dignity has no worth. Well, I usually return to those letters every few months. Many readers are likely to have a personal connection to this work as well. For those who have made their first acquaintance with the letters to a young poet or Rilke in general with this video, I could give you an open introduction. Those of you who were already familiar with the work or are now reading it are welcome to describe your own reading experience in the comments and what insights the book gave you. So thank you very much for listening, and hopefully I'll see you again. Bye bye. The essay text is originally written in German. It's now rather casually translated, and the translation of the letters are from the Penguin Classics edition. So thank you again. Bye bye.